All right, we're back, and by now, if you have watched the other episodes, if not, you can go ahead and watch those. But by now, if you have watched the other episodes, we have covered some of the fundamentals. We've created a debate. We created a database. We've installed all the applications. We've created a database. We have created some tables that we can see over here. We've learned how to do simple statements. So the select everything from, basically meaning that we covered these two, so select and from. And then in the last episode, we also learned how to do a join. If you haven't seen that, you can go ahead and click the video in the playlist that should show up on your right side in this video. So now in this episode, we will be covering the where statement. At least to begin with. So we'll just comment this out, and the way for you to do that, if you don't know, is that you can mark all of it, because we need to comment all of it out, and then you can click this, comment out the selected lines, and then you can click this if you want to uncomment it. But when you comment it out, it basically means that if you write something down here, that if I then just stand here and run everything, the things that are commented out doesn't get included in any of the queries. So you can also do it here, and it's a good way to add comments to your queries for other people to understand what it is that you're doing if it's not clear. But if we go ahead and write this, so let's say that we as we learned last time, let's give this a name, a prefix as P, because it's P as products. So then we will reference the name, p.price, p.status, p.created by. And you can see that these name and status, they have green, or they are blue, highlighted in blue, and that's because that they are used as has to be here. They are marked in the program as being a function. It wouldn't have fucked anything up if we just ran it here, but it's a good idea to just put them in brackets. That way we won't cause any problems, and that way you also look a little bit more like a professional running this program. So if we run this, we only get 4 rows out, or 4 columns out: name, price, status, and created by. We will now add a join. So if we join so that is the created by, so that should go to the users. If we just look at this, so there's an ID here that if we take this in here and just run all of it, you can see that the created by connects to the ID on this table. So those are the 2 columns that we need to join. So we will do that by making a join dbo.users as u, because we give that also a prefix name, and then we have to specify what we need to join it on. So we're joining it on p.created by, because that's what we have highlighted here, and then it needs to be joined on the u.id. So if we delete that, we should be able to run this, and now all we're missing is just to reference the u dot, not comma, u dot first name, and let's also do u dot last name. So now we're picking up the first name and the last name from the other table. Now if we want to dive into the where statement, so where is basically a filter condition that we can use. So right now we don't have any filters on, so if this had 1,000,000 rows, we would get all 1,000,000 rows, because we haven't specified that we only want certain rows out. And this is where the analysis comes in play, because you need to know what you're looking for, or at least to some degree. If you know what you're looking for, let's say that we're only looking for the rows that is created by, or the products that have been sold, or whatever it is that we have set up here, the products that have been created by me, Mathias Kelsen. then we can do it in a couple of different ways. We can do it in a way that says where the u, because it's from the users table, and we gave it the name u.firstname equals, and then we put it single brackets, Matthias. We can run that, and that will work in this instance. But that only works because there's only one user whose first name is Matthias. If there was a user that was named Matthias Kelsen and another user that was named Matthias Hansen, then this would give me both of them because they're both named Matthias as their first name. You could circumvent that by saying and u.last name equals Kelsen and run that, and then you're basically double secured. This is an ugly way to do it because there's a way easier way, because we know from the users table and from the products table, if we get this u.id, we know that there's a unique identifier referencing me in that table. It's 101. So instead of us doing this, where the first name is Matthias and the last name is Kelsen, it works, but you could also have multiple, if it was a big enough database, you could have multiple people named the same thing. So instead of doing that, we will say where and now we can choose the u.id or the p, or we could do p.createdby, because it's the same ID, equals 101. If we do that, we get the same result. We can do 102. We get all the ones created by or sold by or whatever it is we did by Jane Doe. And I think I named one more also John Doe. This is the best way to do it for obvious reasons, as I also just explained. But both will work. But this is for sure the smarter way to do it. Now, if you were quick, you may have seen, let me just comment this out, you may have seen that when I wrote the other thing with the other statement, where I said where p.firstname, no, u.firstname equals Matthias, I put it in single quotation marks, and then it becomes red. The same way as when I want to change the column header, I say as last name of me, for example. That also becomes red because I put it in single quotation marks. That doesn't happen when I use a where statement and point it towards a column or a data point where the underlying data type is an integer, so it's a number. Because it's a number, I don't have to put it in quotation marks. Now, if it was incorrectly put as a varchar, like the first name is up here, then I would have to put it in quotation marks. And I actually do believe that I can still do this and it works, but it's not necessary because it is an integer, so it expects a number as a filter. I just had to make sure that I was actually recording this. So that's the where statement. You can do that, and you can combine it. So if we go one step down further, we have now covered the select, the from, the where, the join. Actually, that needs to be here, but that's besides the point. The join and the where. And if we now look at the and functionality, that's only a thing that comes into play if you have already used one filter condition, which is the where. Then if you need to put another one down, you don't go where again, you go and. So you can always only go one where, and then rule of thumb is you can make endless amount of and statements down below, but it has to follow this order, and you can't do and here. It has to be where and then and. So if we say that this still holds true, We want the ones that are created by 101, which is me, but we also want, let's say, the ones that has the status out of stock, because if they're out of stock, then the reasoning is that I have been a moron and haven't put them in stock. I haven't ordered them correctly. So that might indicate that I'm not doing my job right. So we can find those by saying and, because this is the second filtering statement. So we say and the p.status, because that's the name of it, which we know from up here, and we will just put this in brackets just for good measure, where the p and the p.statement status equals, and then we put it in quotation marks because this is obviously not a number. The content of this data field is not a number. It's what we call a variable character, a varchar. So we need to put it in quotation marks like this, and then we will just say out of stock. Boop. And we have to be careful here, because if we misspell something, then obviously it won't work. So be sure to spell correctly. Otherwise you will be faced with the issue immediately. So that's where and statement.